Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar by SolutionXchg on SAP Archiving with iTernity ICAS. This session is part of our knowledge series, and we are happy you could attend and hope you will find the presentation interesting. My name is Jochen Hager, and I will be your host throughout the session. Up front, a few administrative items. Our presentation today will take about 30 to 45 minutes. A few procedural and technical notes on it. All participants are on mute during the full duration of the webinar. Please post any questions or concerns through the questions function in your administration panel on the right side of your screen. If you cannot hear us or cannot see the presentation, please also alert us through the question panel. We will send out a transcript to those who are interested after the webinar. Please let us know via email to info@SolutionXchg.com. Let's dive right into the topic. Our featured speaker today will be my business partner, Kristen Gerling. Kristen, please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Jochen. My name is Kristen Gerling. I'm a managing partner with SolutionXchg, and just to give you a little background about myself, I started working with SAP in 1997 when I joined a consulting firm after college, working on as an FICO implementation consultant. And in 2002, I joined the enterprise content management market with starting with a company that was then called Ixos and is now called OpenText. I was working as a senior consultant with Ixos, developing business process solutions, business process enhancement solutions for SAP around documents and using SAP Business Workflow. I left Ixos in 2004 and became an independent consultant for a while. In 2009, my business partner Jochen Hager and myself, we formed SolutionXchg, and with a focus on archiving and enterprise content management in the SAP environment, but highlighting solutions for the North American market that are very cost efficient, easy to implement, easy to administrate, and basically give you the same bang for the buck as the market dominating competitors out there, but are much more cost efficient and can be implemented in a much shorter time than these big solutions that are out there dominating the market currently. So with that, I would like to jump into our presentation and talk a little bit about one of these solutions today, a little bit in more detail, and that is iTernity ICAS. And that is focusing on the storage backend of archiving with SAP, not so much the business processes, not so much the data archiving, but a storage backend solution for all these different scenarios that encompass the term archiving in SAP. What we'll talk about a little bit today is, first of all, I want to talk about the terminology, SAP Archiving and Information Lifecycle Management. What does that mean, and what's the storage backend solution that it requires? I will then do a deep dive into iTernity ICAS. What is iTernity ICAS? It is a software-based solution to allow you to do warm compliant archiving with any of your NAS or SAN storage products. We'll talk about the architecture of iTernity ICAS, the pillars that it is being built on, security, flexibility, and cost efficiency, some of the special features of the product, and then I'll walk you through some of the main configuration examples, for example, for load balancing, high availability, and so on. But let's talk, before I begin on the terminology, let me give you a little bit of an intro into SolutionXchg, what we provide. first of all, we represent various software companies that not necessarily have their own presence in the U.S. established. And let me start by going around the circle. Here with XFT. XFT is a company that is actually established in the U.S., but we are a business partner representing the XFT product suite, and XFT does business process enhancement solutions with workflow, with OCR technology to allow you to scan documents and process them efficiently through your accounts payable process and exception handling there, or in the HR environment we have a electronic personnel folder solution that allows you to manage your documents in HR electronically and very easily out of SAP. The next solution we represent is a whole product suite by the company KGS, and they are focusing on an Archive Link certified content server and migration tools for that content server, and other document importing tools and document handling tools like a scan client and a document router that allows you to mass import electronic documents and link them to SAP transactions or master data records. iTernity is the company and the solution we're going to talk more about today. iTernity is a small German company, relatively small German company based out of Freiburg, Germany, and they focus on WARM compliant storage technology software. So it is a software product turning NAS or SAN storage from any vendor into WARM compliant storage, similar to what the old optical jukeboxes used to do. And then we have, and these are two solutions that are mainly targeted for customers who are doing data archiving or doing heavily data archiving. First, the products from TJC, that is an archive session cockpit, which allows you to administrate various archive sessions or archive jobs that you're running better and more in a more automated way. So once you've introduced data archiving and you have it running for a large number of data archiving objects, the TJC Archive Session Cockpit can make the whole administration and the whole scheduling and so on of your data archiving jobs a little bit more streamlined and easy to administer. They also have a product called the Audit Extraction Cockpit, which allows you to do database extracts similar to what Dart does on an ongoing basis and in a more flexible way than Dart allows you to do that. Dart only can extract online data, so when you're doing data archiving and you are planning to use Dart for your tax relevant extracts, you can only use it for online data. The TJC Audit Extraction Cockpit allows you to do extracts of online as well as offline data, and therefore you don't need to have that sword hanging over you when you're implementing a data archiving object that is finance related, that you have to have Dart implemented first. The PBS solution suite is probably more well known in the data archiving market. PBS has developed a large number of different modules, add-on modules to SAP, just because of SAP's limitation to display archive data in some modules. Some objects are just not as displaying the archive data as well as the online data. And so they have developed a big solution suite on modules for different SAP business objects or archiving objects that allow a similar display as the online data. And these are the the companies and the products that we represent, and SolutionXchg is basically a value-added reseller. We provide the implementation services, the consulting services around these products. We do business process analysis. We do SAP module customizing or customizing of the products that we're implementing, project management, enterprise content management, and any migration services that are required. We are a full consulting partner as well as a software reseller. Just to highlight again what we're focusing on with our solutions is, and that goes for all the solutions that I've just highlighted, is that we try to reduce the software maintenance cost for companies that have other older legacy solutions implemented. We want to reduce their system IT footprint. So if you have a large open text implementation and you want to make this a more easy to administer solution, we can help you migrate from that open text solution to our KGS solution, which then can run in a virtualized environment, has a lot of features and scalability and performance features that allow you to run this in a much smaller environment, no database, for example, than the existing system IT footprint that you know from these other solutions that have been around the market longer. We always want to reduce administrative efforts. Our solutions have been selected by us because they're very easy to implement. Most of our implementation projects require a week to 2 weeks of consulting time. Unlike some of our competitors. And like I said, we are there to replace old legacy archiving systems that have done their job but that are not up to par with today's technology needs and today's IT infrastructure needs. But let's go now and focus a little bit on the terminology that we understand that is in our heads when we talk about SAP archiving. Most people will automatically think about SAP Data Archiving, where content is taken out of the SAP database tables and stored in a file as an offline mode. But that is not all what SAP archiving encompasses. There is SAP Document Management, or SAP DMS, or K-Pro, and any type of archive link certified archiving scenarios where documents are attached to transactional records or master data records. And then there is SAP's Information Lifecycle Management. When you look at data archiving, what really happens is you have your database and you have your application data in there, and you run a archiving job, and that archiving job creates a file on a file system. That after that you will run your delete job, and that deletes the data out of the SAP database that you've just written to this file system. The access comes from the file system if you don't run the next step in that job step chronology, and that is actually storing those files on an archive link or certified storage system. So with data archiving, a customer has the option to just plainly store the files that they create in the file system and not execute the next step, which would then move those files from the file system into an archive link certified content server storage solution. The access from that archive link certified content server storage solution is the same as if you would store them just on the file system. However, you have more security on those files if they are stored with such a compliant storage solution than just leaving them out on the file system. Why is data archiving introduced in organizations? It is housekeeping. You want to reduce the response time in some of the reports by getting rid of unnecessary data in the tables. You need to do that. You need to do these kind of housekeeping activities to reduce the time it takes to upgrade or to do a backup, or in a disaster recovery scenario to switch over to the DR side. So there's a lot of reasons why you do data archiving, but what you should keep in mind, and that's how SAP intended data archiving to be, is not to stop at the file system and keep those files just on a regular file system, but store them securely with a solution that includes an archive link certified content server and the compliant storage that is required for it. Now, what is document management? And this covers basically not just the regular DMS and SAP and KPRO, but it is any type of archive link certified business processes that use documents and associate those or link those to the transactional records or master data records. This is where companies actually enhance their SAP system, enhance the functionality by introducing more complex solutions that include OCR technology, with import features that allow you to auto-post transactions where the information is taken directly from a scanned image, and allows you to create the SAP transactional record without user interference unless there are certain exceptions reached. It is being done in a large scale just for process improvements, cost savings, time savings. I mean, think about all these electronic documents all residing electronically, being able, every user who has access to the SAP transaction can get access to the backup document that that resulted in that posting, and it is much better than having these documents in one location in a file cabinet and having to ask somebody in your accounts payable department, for example, to find that document, put it on a scanner, and then send it as an email attachment to somebody. If it's right there, accessible for every user, that means huge cost and time savings for the entire organization. Again, what is needed is an archive link certified content server and a compliant storage solution. We have encountered in the past that some SAP customers or users have found a way to use the SAP Office functionality of attaching documents, and this has created for these customers a huge headache once their SAP system started to grow a little bit, because these attachments, some of them can be relatively large in size, and they're then all stored in the SAP database, which makes that database grow again unproportionally and require cleanup activities to get all these documents out, get them archive link archived and onto this content server / compliant storage platform instead of hanging out in the SAP database, because like I said, some documents can be huge. If you think of a scanned utility invoice for your entire organization, that can be a couple hundred pages. If it's also by accident scanned in color and not black and white, those documents are a couple megabytes, probably 2-digit, if not 3. So you really want to introduce an archive link certified content server solution and compliant storage for this. The next big topic we have in the terminology scheme of SAP archiving is SAP Information Lifecycle Management. That is a new product, relatively new product by SAP. It's been out there, I think, for 3 years now, and during those 3 years, it has grown in functionality. At first, it was just data archiving and retention management and SAP system decommissioning. It is now being used for non-SAP system decommissioning as well. It is not using the SAP Archive Link interface, but it has its own interface called BCILM 3.0, and it is a solution that enhances the old data archiving processes quite a bit by allowing you to do a more sophisticated retention management, including legal holds, e-discovery, and so on, and then the system decommissioning as well as SAP system decommissioning as well as non-SAP system decommissioning. Again, any type of solution that's out there on the market today that works with that BCILM 3.0 certified interface has to be a certified content server solution and requires compliant storage. Now, what really is compliant storage? Compliant storage is storage that allows you to fulfill these requirements listed on this slide right now. They're government requirements, federal, they can be even international regulations that require organizations to keep their data in a certain state, and that is for warm compliance, it is considered that the data has to be kept tamper-proof. That means you cannot make any changes to that file by accident or on purpose. You cannot delete that file by accident or on purpose until its retention has been reached. That requires that there is a retention handling mechanism on the individual archived file level. It cannot be by directory. It has to be on the individual file. So each file has to be stored with its own specific retention date. Again, the data cannot be deleted, so you have to provide a warm-like technology so that no file can be deleted prior to it having reached its retention date. Just because these systems and the retention for most of our records in our organizations is actually sometimes 7 years for financial transactions, but it can also be extended to 30 years and so on. This data has to be kept in a migratable state. So you will always, technology is not at a standstill, technology evolves. You will always have to be able to migrate that data off to alternative media. And also you have to guarantee the access to your archive data at all possible times. If you think, a lot of these guidelines were developed right after Enron, and that in order to ensure that there's 100% accountability of your records, and you really have to have a system in place that allows you to serve up these records no matter when, at any given point in time. So these are the regulations and the requirements that come out of these regulations for any type of worm compliance. iTernity is in the last stages of also getting SEC 17.4 certified, the Dodd-Frank Act. That is a topic for all our bank customers and financial institutions, where we need to have this certification in order to be considered a trusted system, warm compliant trusted system in their environment. So what have different warm compliant storage configurations been like in the past, or what are they today? What do we see around the market today? In the past, we had old optical, what is now considered old technology. We had these optical jukeboxes where you had platters and you wrote the data to a warm platter. You filled up that warm platter, then it got locked, and then the only way to get rid of that data was to actually break the platter. This technology is still around. You still have we still have customers occasionally where we do a migration off these optical jukeboxes, but they're considered outdated technology. There's no vendor out there that has any supported models out there anymore. The spare parts for them are very hard to get, and it is a dinosaur technology when you're looking from today what solutions are out there. So, but what you always have is an SAP system and a content management solution or a content server solution that will write to these either an optical jukebox like this, or what we see today in the market still quite frequently are proprietary devices where the hardware and the software is bundled as a device, which EMC Centera, for example, or NetApp SnapLock Filer, these are devices where hardware and software is bundled. You cannot leverage any of your existing data center options that you have, like what your common NAS or SAN storage platform is. You will have to lock into a specific new device with new training, new administrators for it, and they are not that easy to migrate from because they are proprietary systems, and when you have to upgrade these systems, you always have to upgrade the whole device. You cannot upgrade just the software piece or just the hardware piece. You will also have to upgrade the entire device, and that down the road produces a lot more cost than the solution that I'm going to talk about in the next slide, iTernity ICAS, which is a software-based layer sitting on any type of NAS or SAN storage infrastructure, providing this same type of warm compliance, including if a customer wants it, encryption, self-healing, compression, but is a much more flexible approach to the challenges of data growth and making sure that you follow these compliant regulations. And like I said, it is a vendor-neutral solution as far as NAS or SAN storage. It can consume any type of SCSI or NFS-mounted LUNs and provide those to these content management applications in the form of a virtual drive letter to write to. There's another interface, an API interface, that is not commonly used by our ISV partners, but some of them have implemented, but most use our virtual drive or IFSG file system gateway solution. And that allows you to do all the types of archiving that I've mentioned before. It allows you to save in a compliant mode the data archiving files that you're creating out of your system. It allows you to do all kinds of different archiving of files that you generate through these business process enhancement solutions, as well as regular document management solutions around SAP or document management business process, enhanced business processes. It is also BC ILM 3.0 certified. So if you introduce it for information lifecycle management, also the files generated there can be stored in a compliant form on regular NAS or SAN storage, where you cannot delete the record, you cannot tamper with a file, and you're fulfilling the highest compliance guidelines that we have out there today. Also, this solution, and this solution is very flexible because it is software based as far as how you install it. You don't have to have that black box device in your data center like our competitors do. You have a software that can sit on a physical server that can be installed as a VM image or as a Hyper-V image, so totally virtualized. You can run it in a cluster. You have all the flexibility as far as your high availability and load balancing scenarios that you normally implement with other business critical applications. That is all there with that solution as well, without encouraging a lot of additional cost. If you think of DR sides, when you have a proprietary device, you have to mirror that whole device over. We can do DR sides by just having virtual images ready to go, ready to be fired up at a DR side without that additional layer of having to lock into device licenses. Again, any type of SAN or NAS, iSCSI, fiber channel connected, NFS mounted is appropriate. It is something that works. We would have to look at performance requirements to see if your current NAS or NFS environment allows the performance that you require from the solution. Performance is very different it depends on your network speed, it depends on what you're actually, the kind of information that you're actually archiving, and so on. As far as the application layer, this solution is very, very flexible as far as which applications it integrates with. We have over 65 ISVs certified for our solution in various industries. So there's a set number of archive link content server solutions or BCILM content server solutions. We have other solutions that focus on email archiving. We have other solutions that focus on healthcare imaging products. But it is a large number that is certified, and the number is growing every week because of the file system interface. That file system gateway is a very, very easy way for solutions to connect to ICAS or to integrate with ICAS and then store files coming from the application layer to that NAS or SAN storage in a WARM compliant manner. I just want to highlight a few that are relevant on the SAP side. OpenText, of course, is a certified solution. KGS is one. Superion is one. There's a large number of different content server solutions that are certified, and we can basically work with any of them. Let's talk a little bit about what are ICAS's main objectives. It is provide security. I mean, WARM compliance stands for security, and that is what ICAS was built to do. What we store on the actual NAS or SAN storage is our patented content storage container files. These files have the retention date in them. They have they have a hash algorithm that if something changes within the file, that hash algorithm is no longer valid, and that file becomes flagged as a corrupted file, with logging mechanisms to show who was the last person that logged in there, who did what to that file. Security is the highest goal for iTernity. We allow, and this is a feature more than it is something that is turned on by default, but you can turn on encryption so that the data is stored in an encrypted format. We use standard industry technology there of the AES 256 encryption mechanism. We allow compression so that you can lower the size, or you can kind of manage the size of your archive a little better. But these are features that can be turned on. Not every customer chooses to do so, and sometimes it's not wise to do so. In the case of SAP Data Archiving files, for example, SAP already has a compression algorithm. It doesn't really make sense to apply a second one as well. But there are other applications where compression becomes a need, and it can be turned on for specific repositories and can be turned off for others. Flexibility. The solution is trying to use and leverage industry standards wherever it can. It tries to be open to a vast number of application providers that do document management or archiving, but also it tries to be open to the storage layer underneath to encompass as many different storage vendors and their products as possible, giving you as the customer the flexibility to leverage out the technology that you have highly invested in, that you want to get the biggest return of investment that you want to use throughout your organization, not to build individual data silos in your organization that require different administration skills and so on. Cost efficiency is another key pillar that the solution was built on. Our solution is a pay as you grow model, so you don't have to lock into the size that your solution might be 4 years down the road. You just have to lock in from a licensing and maintenance perspective to what the size of your current archive is. You don't have to pay for replicated data. If you decide you want to store or you want to use our additional write functionality where you're actually writing to 2 different devices, you only license and you only pay maintenance on that primary site. It doesn't matter that you're replicating the data to us from a license perspective. The solution is easy to implement. When we do our installations, we have a 3-hour remote session that includes the installation, that includes a KT session. It's very, very easy to implement and very easy to administer. And going forward, we've had one customer who was used to an EMC Centera, and when we did the proof of concept, he was like, "Oh, I didn't realize it could be that easy. I can navigate and I can understand the concepts here much faster than I've seen with other providers." It's a very intuitive administration GUI that allows you to configure and grow the solution. Let's highlight a couple more things about the security. Again, warm functionality is provided by our patented content storage container technology. We're using hash algorithms like the HMAC SHA 512. Again, industry standards that applies also to the compression and encryption algorithms. The solution is totally based on industry standards when it comes to, it is a .NET application. It runs on any MS Windows server, and is a simple web service. So there's no database or anything required for the solution. It is just a web service. We create our own mapping files, basically, that take over the functionality that a database used to do. So it is a stateless solution because also those mapping files are then stored on the storage. So there's not much you have to consider when you have to back up that server or run that server. But it's also coming with a DoD compliant data shredder. What does that mean? The Department of Defense has had in the past requirements as far as deleting data, that you have to be able to set a configuration parameter as far as to how many overwrites of deleted segments you want to do until you consider the data fully deleted and no longer being able to rebuild. So we have that feature. It can be turned on. It can be configured to as many overwrites as you would like. We do allow you to configure it in a cluster scenario in order to provide high availability. So if one server goes down, the other one will automatically fire up and take the load off your your retrieval calls or your archiving calls. And we have a functionality called self-healing, which allows you, if you have our additional write feature turned on, to save the files on 2 devices, but also have the self-healing mode going, checking the integrity of both files on the devices and repair any broken files from one device to another by a copying mechanism. I'll show that functionality in a later slide a little bit in more detail. Flexibility, again, we support a very large number of different application partners here for different types of archiving. OpenText is a big one in the SAP sphere, our KGS product that we resell, and a couple others are listed here like Superior, Easy, Sionic, and so on. We do also do SharePoint archiving now. Email archiving is with Symantec and Commvault and OpenText, and then they're not listed, well, GE packs for a healthcare solution, for example. So there's a large spectrum of different types of application vendors, and we almost support everyone in the SAP market. We do have FileNet installations, although FileNet is not officially supported, but we do have customers live with our product in combination with FileNet as well. Another thing regarding flexibility, again, is the virtual appliance. We allow you to use our software or install our software in any of the big virtual environments that are out there, like VMware, Citrix, Xen, Hyper-V, etc. You can run our software in a virtual environment, and to be honest, today most of our customers are actually running our software in virtual environments. The times are gone to have physical servers for everything in a data center. And then from a cost efficiency point, again, it is a pay-as-you-grow model. We have a server license component. We also have a archived terabyte license component. That means your archived data, not what your storage device, what your NAS or SAN storage product has available, but what you have used up in archived data, with a little bit of a buffer for your annual growth. We do not license any replicated data, so any replications that you do, as many as you want, you don't have to pay that additional license component piece for. And what is also nice with our licenses is they can be transferred to new hardware systems without any additional costs. So if you have hardware today and in 5 years this hardware becomes outdated and you need to upgrade to new modern technology, we help you as far as services is concerned with the migration of that data through our migration tool iCopy, but you do not incur any new license cost because of that. You can just transfer that system to the new hardware. Let's look a little bit more on at some of the iTernity features or what make iTernity ICAS unique. One of them is the API hash value concept, as well as the file system interface integrated in one solution. The other one is self-healing. Then I'll talk a little bit about data migration, and another feature that we provide is backup optimization. Let's start with the API and the hash value and file system concept. Like I said before, iTernity ICAS offers you 2 different types of interfaces with these applications. One is an API and one is a file system interface. Now, the API interface by nature was always hash value based, but iTernity actually brought the hash value mechanism feature also into its file system gateway or a virtual file system interface, and therefore it basically creates a solution that provides the best out of both worlds of the main technologies out there. You get the scalability through the hash value mechanism of as if you had an API integration, but the flexibility, the easiness of integrating different applications and using the system for applications that are not necessarily certified, but that can just write to a write to a file system if you need warm compliance for that data as well. So it combines the advantages of both technologies in one product, and and applications can access all the archived objects through the file system. And access, however, meant retrieval access, not necessarily change access unless you write a new file. And it is an object-oriented software storage solution, because all the files that are stored are managed by using these hash values. So the integrity is managed, but also the retention date is encoded in there. There's a lot of information in that hash value for the individual content storage container, and we manage the files through that. That's why we don't need a database. Security and self-healing. Self-healing provides another layer of security to protect any type of device failures that, for some reason one device corrupts a whole file system. So when you use that self-healing mechanism and you have that device written to two different when you have that data written to two different devices, self-healing will allow you to correct any type of corrupted files that occur on a specific device through a copying mechanism between these devices through ICAS. It is a much better way to do this than array-based replication. So or hardware replication provides a much higher level of security, because, like I said, these logical or technical failures of system A cannot automatically be replicated to system B. And it is one of the big security features that we see out there today in modern storage technology, that you have to provide this type of security level that goes far beyond what most of our competitors deliver today. Another feature is our iCopy tool that we use for data migrations with ICAS. So we allow the system to be configured to use multipath namespaces, or we configure it for multipath namespaces, and that then allows you to have a read-only path and a write path. And we can seamlessly migrate data without the user being impacted. They can still retrieve, and we migrate the data behind the scenes by this functionality. And you can mount your new device. You can make it your write path, and the old device becomes the read path, and then you just run the iCopy tool to migrate the data from one storage system to another without any type of user impacts. There's just a small window where that configuration has changed, and the services need to be recycled, but that is a 5 to 10 minute window, and then the migration can be done behind the scenes from one storage device to a new storage device. Backup optimization is a feature that some of our customers use that produce a very large number of small files in a very small time frame. If you think of, for example, a utility provider when they run their billing cycle, depending on the size of that organization, they could easily be generating 3 or 4 million of invoices in a very small time frame that create individual PDFs that need to be stored then on our storage solution. In order to allow a customer to have smaller backup windows, we can actually compress that data into zip files that are then collecting all the different files into that file that have been created within the same date, hour, minute, and therefore you will have for your backups a lot less objects that you need to back up than if you had all these individual files being created. So there can be a huge factor in time reduction for doing backups. Again, this little window here shows you what is all part of a content storage container file. It has its file ID, a CAS ID. It is protected, immutable, has a timestamp, has encryption. If encryption has been turned on, is compressed if compression has been turned on, and the file name consists of this 512-bit hash value protecting it. I would like to now show you a few configuration examples, how you can set the solution up before we come to an end of the slideshow. So you can have a NAS or SAN configuration, so ICAS can be between your document management application or content server solution, and then connect it to either a SAN or a NAS environment. It can be a virtual appliance, and again you have the flexibility to choose your virtualization and use it in whatever is your common virtualization engine. We can create an image for that, and even that image you have the flexibility to work with it with NAS storage or SAN storage, or even both. You can build your archive using LUNs out of your NAS devices and LUNs from your SAN devices, and you can combine those to a compliant archive using ICAS. Also, you have what I've said before, the additional write functionality, where you can configure ICAS to not just write to one storage device but simultaneously write to a second storage device. ICAS will not confirm to the application that the file has been written successfully until both writes have been completed successfully, they have been read back, and the integrity of the file has been verified. That's when the upperlying document management application will get the confirmation that the file has been stored successfully. And that's then when you can also turn on that ICAS self-healing functionality that will then monitor the integrity between the two devices and fix corrupted files if necessary. ICAS can also be installed in a Microsoft cluster environment in case you have high availability failover requirements that you need to be able to fail over from one ICAS server to the other in case a data center goes down. And you can also store a backup copy with a cloud provider, and we're again open here to a multitude of different hosting services and cloud providers for storing backups of your archive data. The data that you archive, if you've turned on encryption, will get stored on that cloud provider's storage, again encrypted, so you're not losing any of the security features if you choose to do so. that ends the feature part of the presentation. I just want to highlight a few of our customers that have chosen to use iTernity ICAS, and some of them, the ones here that you see here are all SAP customers. There are other customers in the healthcare and other sectors, but we want to focus on SAP right now. For example, Deloitte, as an auditing company, has chosen to use iTernity ICAS to store all their data archiving files as well as all their imaging files that they use with SAP on iTernity ICAS. That is an installation with OpenText. Singapore Telecom is another one. Bell Canada is an OpenText installation with iTernity ICAS, and we have Ecolab, for example, and their associated company Nulco that use this solution in combination with our KGS content server for storage, for storing all their data archiving files in a compliant storage solution, as well as providing warm compliance to these files. This is just a highlight of different customers. There's many more that have chosen our solution, and please feel free to ask for any of our success stories. Again, why was the solution chosen by these companies? Because it is KPMG certified. They had a requirement for warm protection. They needed a solution that was certified with a large number of document application providers, because it wasn't just SAP archiving that they were interested in, but also email archiving, our large number of reference customers, the flexibility of being a solution that you can completely virtualize, and the different types of storage devices that it supports, and our cost efficiency, as far as that a customer doesn't have to lock in to a device that is bigger than they need at the current time, and they can do that in time as they need it, and that our migration tool allows them to switch to new hardware at any given time if they need to without any downtime. That concludes the part of our presentation, and I will give it back to Jochen in case we have some questions.
Thank you very much, Kristen. This concludes the presentation section of our webinar today. I hope you enjoyed the webinar and all the information, all the great information Kristen had for you. Hopefully you got some good takeaways. Please don't hesitate to contact us if you have any questions, or if you want to get a transcript of the presentation today. Send us an email at info@solutionexchg.com. And we're almost at the top of the hour. We're kind of running out of time, so just one quick question that came in. We'll answer the other questions via email and personal contact. But Kristen, how can this solution work outside the SAP environment? There was a question, can I only use this for SAP archiving, or is this solution also suitable for other environments?
It is also suitable for other environments. It's a matter of configuration of different repositories, and then connecting these different repositories to each different application specifically. So you could have a repository just for SAP archiving, and then you can have another repository that allows you to do email archiving, and then all your email archiving data is stored in a separate area on your SAN or NAS.
Thank you. And we also got a question on licensing structure. I think you already explained some of that in your slides. We'll address those questions in more detail in direct communication. So this concludes our webinar. Thank you very much for attending. Here is our contact information. If you would like to contact us, don't hesitate to call us directly or just send us an email, and we'll be happy to get back to you as soon as possible. Thanks very much, Kristen. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.